Welcome to Watches with Dennis, and today I want to give some first thoughts on some new Seamaster Coaxial Master Chronometer Aqua Terra colors that have come out. They actually have revealed some new ones for 34mm and 38mm. I'm only going to focus on 38mm here because it's a more appealing watch size to a broader audience. And so let's go ahead and get some of the specifics out of the way first. So as I noted, this is going to be the 38mm diameter size. These watches are 13.2 millimeters thick, stainless steel watches in all instances. They've introduced 5 colors with fairly creative names such as sandstone, terracotta, saffron, bay green, and Atlantic blue. It does feature luminova, super luminova for the watches. They are water resistant to 150 meters. The sapphire glass does have anti-reflective coating on both sides. And the strap is a 3-link stainless steel bracelet. In terms of the movement, this uses Omega's caliber 8800. That is a watch that beats at 3.5 hertz. It has 35 joules. Does have a power reserve of approximately 55 hours. It is Metis Master Chronometer certified. And so let's go ahead and go into some more specifics. Now, Omega has promoted these colors as sort of representing a range of land and sea. Land for the Terra part of the watch name and sea for the Aqua side of the watch. And for those that aren't familiar, the Aqua Terra is sort of a subcategory under the Seamaster. I would loosely describe it as sort of the dressy Seamaster versions. So typically I've found them to be more elegant and more, again, they're still sports watches. 150 meters of water resistance sort of conveys that, and stainless steel. But they tend to look a little more sophisticated and more designed for dressy wear than a lot of what I think people typically think of with like James Bond Seamasters or the Planet Oceans. In terms of the watch dials, the colors are all sunbrushed from the center and are lacquered. How they got the colors onto the dial is a little bit different for the terracotta versus all the rest. All of the other colors are achieved via the physical vapor deposition process, or PVD. And I wasn't familiar with that, but PVD is a technique that primarily uses a physical means to apply a thin layer of material. Now, for the terracotta watch, they've actually gone with a CVD, or chemical vapor deposition process. CVD involves mixing the source material with one or more volatile precursors, from what I have read, and that functions as a carrier to get it to apply. So CVD is not typically associated with watchmaking, but to achieve that kind of red color that we see on the terracotta, that is what was done, PVD being done, as I noted, for all of the rest of the colorways. So let's get into my first thoughts. In terms of what I like about this, I do like a number of these colors. I don't know that I would necessarily want to buy very many of them, in the sense that when you get with unique colors, I start to question exactly what all you feel like it could go with professionally, especially since Aqua Terra, as I noted, I typically associate with a more dress version of the Seamaster line. And so when I look at a watch like this, I wonder, well, how many suit jackets do I have that I can get away with wearing a sandstone color with? And I don't think it's necessarily very many. But I do like the look. I've always been a big fan of sunbrushed finishes and others that kind of catch the light like these do. So that aspect, that application process, be it PVD or CVD, I do like how it looks here. The indices, I like the shape of those. I've always been a fan of the hour and minute hand layouts for the Aqua Terras. So overall, I still think it's a really nice, clean, sort of low-key look, with the colors of the dial really being what catches your eye. And I'm sure the loom job on these is pretty good, like I've typically associated with other Aqua Terras that I have seen. The bracelet also looks nice. I'm a big fan of 3-link style, so I think that this is going to go really well. But I do have some concerns. Now, the first isn't necessarily a concern per se, other than when I first saw these, I think my reaction is probably very similar to what a lot of you have when you've seen them, which is, wait a minute, didn't we see something out of Rolex that looks a lot like this? And I think that comparison is impossible not to make. We know that in 2020, Rolex rolled out their new Oyster Perpetuals, which had what are often billed as the Stella dials. They're very colorful, and a lot of people are going to see these new colorful Aqua Terras and go, okay, It's been almost 2 years, and it's more like a year and a half, I'd say, since Rolex rolled out their colorful watches. Here's Omega trying to hit back and do their own version of them. And price-wise, this is where I do think there gets to be concern. It could be a bit of an issue. It's been noted, I saw on Hodinkee's site, that the pricing on these are going to start at $5,700. By comparison, the official retail price that I currently see for a Rolex Oyster Perpetual 41 millimeter is $6,150. So the pricing is not very different. You could argue, I think reasonably argue, that this may be a better certified movement. It has an additional depth. I believe the Oyster Perpetuals are only to 100 meters of water resistance, and these are noted. These Aqua Terras are noted at 150. You could also point to the Aqua Terra having a complication. It does have a date window versus the Oyster Perpetuals, which are time-only watches. However, that's the second concern I have with these Aqua Terras. Those date windows do not look good. The positioning's good. I mean, what is safer than the 6 o'clock position for a date window? Nothing. It's like the most unobtrusive date window you could possibly have because it maintains the symmetry of the watch. However, if you look at all 5 of these colorways, they have one thing in common, besides, of course, the indices and the hour hands. But regarding the dates, they have one thing in common. They're all plain, boring, stand-out white window backdropped dates. So they're not color matched. They don't blend into the dial. They're stark. They're noticeable. And in my opinion, they look cheap. And so I would have much, much, much rather, even at the same exact price, seen this watch without a date complication at all. But if you're going to do a date complication, I do think you want to try and color match it to the dial color. And I get that it's not all that unusual for watches to just use a white backdrop for their date window with black text on it and leave it at that. But for something that's costing almost 6,000 US dollars, I think they could have done a better job trying to blend it in and making it look sophisticated like the rest of the watch. But anyway, those are my first thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts? Comment below if you have any opinions about these 38 millimeter Aqua Terras. Do you like the colors? Do you like what you see with the movement? Or what would you do differently, if anything, with them? And that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. It helps the channel out. And if you want to know when I have new videos out, just click that subscribe button and YouTube takes care of the rest. That's it, everybody. Have a great day.